Hey guys, Prep for Life here doing a quick flashlight review. This is the Fenix E21. I try not to do reviews on things that have been reviewed in the past unless I feel that I have something to say that other people haven't said yet. The only thing with this light is there's not a whole lot of reviews on this light. And I'm not going to do a 45-minute Nothing Fancy style review where, he talks about every single nook and cranny on the light. But I figured I'd go over some of the basic talking points and then move on to things that I like and dislike and ways that I use this light. Philosophy of use, that type of thing. So, real quick, it has two modes. High being at 154 lumens, low being at 52 lumens, max runtime of 11 hours on low, and on high it's 2.5 hours. Now it says it has a beam throw of 134 meters. That's not going to happen with this light. I would say you'd probably be getting usable light 70 yards maybe. You could see a glisten on some reflective signs at 130 yards, but you're not going to be able to identify somebody with this light at 134 yards. IPX8 waterproof standard. Other than that, y'all really can look up the rest on your own if you really want to know anything else. I know the one question I always get is the LED centered. Yes, it is. You're probably not going to be able to see it with this camera, but it is pretty centered. Now it's not the most beautiful, beam shape, but it has some halos in there and some other things. But for what this light will do, it does great. So real quick, to access your two modes, you twist the. Let me zoom out a little bit here. You twist the bezel, which has some knurling as well as the body tube and the tail cap. However, you really have to crank down on this guy in order to get it to twist, which is something I actually like. It may be a little too tight. I would actually prefer it be a little looser, but the fact that it won't actuate on its own is a definite perk. The tail cap is not. It's not going to be a flashlight that you're going to be able to tail stand, and I know a lot of people want to know about that kind of stuff. I really don't care. I never tail stand the light. If I need a a light to function as a lantern, I'll just snag a lantern. So the clicky cap, which is my favorite style of actuating an on and off switch on a light, and I'm not exactly sure if there's a term for this, but I'm going to call it the length of push rather than the length of pull, which would be the length that it would take to actuate the light when pushing down. So how far you have to push in before it actually actuates the click. I really like how you have so much play there that you won't accidentally actuate the light on and off when trying to use the momentary on. And I do use the momentary on this light a lot, which is one of the features that I really like about it, actually. So the high is usually what I use. The 154 lumens. It's a very usable beam. But like I said, where I use this light is typically around the house, walking the dog, maybe a camping trip, things that you wouldn't need a, let's say, tactical style flashlight, like maybe the LD20, which also is a double A 2-cell battery, or 2-cell flashlight. As you can see, it's much smaller than the Fenix E21, but its uses are going to be a little different. I look at this flashlight as a light that, if you need to get into your attic, if you need to walk your dog, if you need a flashlight that your kids can actuate, or maybe your wife or your daughter, or somebody who's not familiar with flashlights, you get into flashlights like the LD20 or maybe the Streamlight PT2L that have all these different modes inside. Same with the Fenix, low, medium, high. I mean, you get all these different modes, and it can get a little tricky if you're not unfamiliar with them. This light is very simplistic. On, off. That's it. No modes, no nothing, which is why I like it. At a price point of, on Amazon, I've seen them as low as $29. I actually purchased this at my local REI for $35, which I think is a fair price for the light that you're getting. I think it's a decent flashlight. I highly recommend it for maybe a gift to somebody that needs to keep a flashlight in their car, or maybe an emergency kit or something like that. This would be a great forget light, something that you stick somewhere, maybe your bug out bag or your get home bag or your EDC kit, EDC bag if you have one, or any place that somebody who is unfamiliar with flashlights may get to it. So this is definitely that kind of role. I would recommend this for mainly. My favorite use for it is actually walking the dog. Putting it on low, leaving it on, even though I know where I'm going. We don't have sidewalks in my neighborhood. We actually just have we have just some reflective caps that separate the road from the walking path, and so I use this as a way to identify myself, since I typically don't wear anything reflective when I walk the dog. So that's the main purpose I would use for this light, the main reason. Other things would just be little chores around the house, and I definitely think it's a great light, and I feel like it's a light that a lot of people don't know about, especially since the fact that it uses AA cells. It makes it a great light for around the house, because you can always find AA's, especially in a situation where maybe an emergency kit where you have extra batteries, but then it dies on you in an emergency. AA's are going to be easily found, which is probably going to be your most common battery. So using flashlights that use two CR123 batteries may give you more power. It's not going to give you the benefit of being a cell that's easily located in an emergency or out in the boondocks. If you're driving on some country road and you pull up to a country store, you're not going to find a CR123 battery, but you'll find AA's, which is all that matters. So, like I said, this is just a real quick overview of this light. I think it's a great light for specific uses. I don't think it's the best light for every use. I mentioned camping in my list of things that I would use it for. If I was to take one light, this would not be the light I would take, strictly because it can't really double as a lantern. The caps, the caps that you can fit on some Fenix lights don't fit on this light, and it also doesn't have it does here, but it doesn't have a quality place to put a lanyard to hang from the ceiling. And that's one of the things that I really like about having a flashlight on a camping trip, is if I need to use it as a lantern, I can hang it upside down, put the cap on it, and make a lantern in my tent. So this flashlight definitely has its place, especially at a price point of $35, which I think is very, very reasonable for this flashlight. But this isn't my end-all flashlight for sure. I will be purchasing more of these. One of the things that I actually forgot to mention that I was going to say, I think one of the best uses for this light would be for geocaching. And if you're unfamiliar with geocaching, there's lots of videos on geocaching. But a real quick thing is, you basically get coordinates, you plug them into your GPS, and you look for something that somebody's hidden, which would be the cache. CACHE, and so this is great for if you're just hopping out of the car real quick, using your GPS to look around, looking for a geocache. You can get one of these for your kids, couple of kids, and they're cheap enough to where it's not going to break the bank buying a couple of them, but they're also going to be sturdy enough to where if your kids drop them or people drop them, they get beat up, they're still gonna hold together. They're very good quality. So that was one of the things that I forgot to mention earlier. So this is the Fenix E21. I think it's a fantastic flashlight, and I think anybody who is looking for a very simple flashlight needs to check this out. And if you have any questions about it, something I didn't cover or didn't answer, I know this wasn't a very thorough review. This was just a basic why I like this light type of thing. If you have any questions or comments or anything, definitely shoot me a PM or a comment down below, and I will try to get back to you as quickly as possible. Thanks for watching, guys.